having social media as a place, even if you're limiting the time, as a place where you just be mindless, that's really dangerous because you can just start following people and emanating examples that are harmful.
A lot of people talk about social media and they'll be like, oh yeah, there was just so much negative content I was watching. It was all these bad ideas, so hateful. It was making me anxious. It was making me depressed. But now I only watch that stuff for 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And I think that it's obviously opposed to watching 60 minutes of really bad content to like 10 minutes. That's a big improvement. But I think there's also like a fundamental, okay, then what are you doing? Like if that's the case, it's kind of like, okay, making a bad thing and then it's like, I'm just only going to have less of it.
Yeah.
And that's still kind of like, I think we were talking about how it's not really addressing what is the purpose of you using it and how can you use it constructively, and also how much of a negative impact those things can have, even if it's just 10 minutes, and not to underestimate how much what you're watching, what you're exposed to, is going to have an impact on you.
Yeah, I was really interested in talking about the subject because I recently had an experience where I found this channel, this YouTube channel that it's this down to earth. I think she's Christian. She's this woman who's talking about the things she's seeing on TikTok and pointing out things that might be harmful and addressing those to her audience.
Right.
And on the surface it looks like a very wholesome channel, but just watching like the things she was referencing, even through the lens of this is bad, I was surprised to see how much of an emotional effect it had on me.
Right.
And this is coming from a perspective of like, I am pretty like, I guess, protected, for want of a better word, from a lot of this stuff. I think protected is a good word because a lot of it is very harmful.
Right. Yeah.
And this is kind of like, as like, I'm not totally ignorant about all this stuff, but I don't want to watch any of it, and I don't want to really expose myself to it.
Yeah.
So this is from the perspective of like my first reactions, and from seeing this sort of stuff,
And sign up for context, we, like, when I was in elementary school, my friends would call me like uneducated because I didn't know about the like latest TikTok trends or whatever,
or memes or something.
Yeah, and it was just something where it's like we were learning about the internet at a more high level, looking at the data, as well as like we were using the platforms with intention, but by using the platforms with intention, we were not getting the normal user experience of just scrolling on your feed. We never really used feeds that way.
Yeah, and like and that didn't just go for social media, it also went like for video games. Like,
right.
The only like video game we ever played was like Minecraft. And our dad started out was like, we're going to code with Minecraft and learn Java
and
coding.
We would be like, hey daddy, can we please stop playing Minecraft? Like, it was hard with all the coding, and it
was hard, like
all the
debugging and the trying to find. Anyway, back to the subject. This is coming from like a position where I was basically I was watching this, and I was like, it was very emotionally like, impacting me.
Right. And well, in the video, she references these TikToks where it's like people like spending a whole lot of money on like back to school hauls. Just basically, she's talking about over-consumerism. But then the video she was referencing was stuff that you were like, oh, this is like very antithetical to your sorts of values, and you hadn't really been seeing that.
I hadn't really seen it. It was basically this girl, she was going around for her back to school haul, and it was basically just her buying anything she felt like she wanted, and like, oh, there's this pencil case, it's so cute, but then there's this pencil case and it's so cute, I think I'm just gonna get both of them. And then like me watching this, like, I think obviously on social media you're going to be seeing things that are extreme, because that's what's gonna get more views. It's the things that are going to be more captivating.
Right.
And I notice over over like maybe the next week, I was noticing a few things about like what I was thinking about and how is it affecting me. And one of which is that I felt very good about my spending and and like if I was like, oh, maybe I should get like I might need a new cleaning toothbrush because I have a toothbrush for when I need to scrub things out. And then maybe I'll need a new one. And then I was like, I don't really need it. But then I was like, oh, wait, there was this girl that I saw where she was basically just buying. So I felt very good about myself.
Willy-nilly. And
yeah. And then another thing was that even though I was looking at it from the perspective of this is bad, those things were still in my mind, and it also made me feel like a lot worse about just people in general. Because one thing is that I think people can underestimate how much of an effect it actually has on like their subconscious and how they view humanity. In the sense that
the world. I mean, it's just...
I think that can sound kind of dramatic, but in terms of the effect it was having on me, I was surprised at how dramatic it was.
Right.
Like, because...
It was funny you were giving me the example of, like, how when you were listening to Harry Potter, you started using, like, British exclamations. You're like, that's rubbish. And I was like, I was looking at, like, what the heck is wrong with you? And
yeah, so I got, like, really into Harry Potter, and I was listening to the audiobooks all the time. And you know, when you're listening to something, it's not only like what you're thinking about consciously and what you're taking in, it's also like it's just adding to your subconscious. So without even realizing it, I would start like saying random British words like, oh, rubbish. Or well, I mean, I stopped after you made fun of me, but
yeah, you know, I was adding the data to offset this.
Yes, exactly. And you know, that skewed my perception.
Right.
Listening to a bunch of British words skewed my perception and my vocabulary more towards British words. And
even
then you
without
skewed
you
it back.
even without you noticing it, because it's not just it's like it's just you have data that you're taking in, and that is what your brain is working with in terms of how you're going to perceive the world, how you're going to learn, because we're learning all the time in terms of updating from what we see. And I think people have it in their minds oftentimes that, oh, it's just what I'm like watching. And then we were also talking to our dad about this because he's been liking to play the game Elden Ring. But he does it in a way that's very intentional, and he was thinking like a lot of people play games because there's no consequences, they can just be all reckless and not be intentional. But he's like, but if I do that, then I'm actually training my brain to not be intentional,
because
right?
Your subconscious doesn't really know that what's like, you know, if it's watching a TikTok video, how is it supposed to like filter out, like you can't exactly tell it, okay, this is bad stuff, don't take in any of it.
Right.
How is it supposed to know that that's not an accurate reflection of just people in general? Like that going back to the people thing, like I felt like bad about people, and I was more like, you know, this person's doing this thing, and you know, people
being more judgmental.
Being more judgmental, and that's not good, because like I said, there's a lot of extreme stuff on social media, and that's probably going to be the stuff that gets more views.
Right.
So like, for example, the meme of like the guy walking into a pond and like falling down. Have you seen that?
I don't know, maybe.
Where it's like, it was a very popular meme of like, and then like if you're seeing people acting stupid, you're going to be like, oh my gosh.
Oh, look at me. Compared to this, I'm
so great. Yeah. But then also like other people are so bad, and that's, you know, that's not good. I think one thing is that I got to sort of see firsthand how much it skewed my perception and my thoughts, without any like muddying or, you know, being numb to that sort of stuff.
Right. It's almost like an experiment in terms of how you compare to pretty much every single other child in this day and age. They've all seen that stuff, but for you, you've been like just listening to Harry Potter on repeat and not necessarily like seeing all this other thing. So for you came to be like, Sume, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
like
okay, the moment I watched it, I ran up the stairs where you were taking a bath. I didn't walk in, but I was outside the door, and I was like, oh my god, Sube, I just had, like, I watched this video, and blah, 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 and, you know, I've had this thought, like, oh my gosh, you know, this social media, it shows all these people, and how could they be over-consuming so much? And
right.
You know, and then also one thing, and I didn't subscribe to that channel, actually, because
even though she was talking about a good message, she was referencing all this content that is still, that you're still watching while you're watching this video of this person, like, trying to convey wholesome messages,
and
right?
It just didn't make me feel good. And then she referenced another channel that, you know, similar kind of thing, a slightly more extreme. It's this guy who just berates people for their financial expenses. I forget the name, but basically, I checked out one of his videos that she was referencing, and it was like very overwhelming. It's this guy, like, you buy coffee at this place every single time you need a cup of coffee. And then obviously it's the whole point is him, like, being all smart and, like, fixing these people's financial habits. But then it's also like, when you have a YouTube channel like that, they're going to cut out the parts of the other person acting as stupid as possible, because it just reinforces the narrative of this person's bad and, you know, fixing this person. And then
well, and then it's also just generally how the way you make content engaging is like this super snappy, and like you're talking in this voice like, today we're going to be looking at some people who are spending money unwisely. It's like you could just say that in a normal voice, but you know, and then and I think that it, like, every time we click on one of those videos where it's like oversaturated and it's just like repulsing, you know?
For someone who hasn't watched a lot of that stuff, it is repulsing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I click on it and then I'm just like,
but
just like,
yeah.
It's very overly
I think it's also similar.
I just want to click away.
Right. It's similar to, like, for us when we weren't, like, limiting our sugar intake. We would, like, be eating all these things, and when we weren't cooking at home as much, we'd just be eating all these things, and we didn't think there was a problem. And then when we started eating healthy consistently, we were, like, gonna go back and, like, oh, this is gonna be so nostalgic having this meal, and then we were like, I'm feeling sick. I'm literally like, I can't finish it.
The first time we went to, like, I think it was Coastal Flats, after we'd been eating healthy for a while, I had, like, one bite. It was great. 2 bites, felt like I wanted to throw up. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, so much grease. Like, how do people eat this stuff? But the thing is, it has the same health effects, no matter if you feel it or not. And, you know, with your relationships or how you're communicating, or, like, how this stuff will affect your mindset around things is even more so, because people will say, like, you know, choose your friends wisely. And, you know, if the people, you know, spend time with people you want to become. And, you know, pick friends that you want to be more like. Make sure you don't have friends that are, like, doing a bunch of stuff that you don't want. And
now people are spending more time on their devices than even with their friends.
More time on TikTok and with TikTok and their phones than their friends. And not just TikTok. Like, I've been having to practice being very aware, even just, like, with my YouTube. Like, that's basically the only thing where I have a few channels, and then I'll consistently, it's the same thing. It's a similar sort of situation with a friend, in the sense that I'm taking in a lot of information and I'm trying to...
it's also, like, we never had a situation throughout all of human history until very, very recently that you'd be engaging with someone, you'd be seeing their face, you'd be hearing their voice, but you didn't actually have a relationship with them. Right? It's like, that's not something that, you know, the older parts of your brain that are still very much in there and influencing you can really get a handle on, right? So it's going to still be impacting you in very much the same way.
Yeah, and if you're spending so much time, like, maybe following a single person, a single influencer, in your subconscious things, this person is very important. You want to, you know, you want to imitate and reflect the things that this person is doing.
Yeah, which could still be very good, because, for example,
can be amazing.
Yeah, like, if you find really great people, and that's what you're saying about, like, you have a few channels where you're like, I know these are really good, wholesome, authentic people.
Yeah,
that I want to become more like, and so their videos are helpful for me in terms of having a positive influence.
Oh yeah, totally.
Right, but you were also telling me a story about how you were vetting that, and like one lady that you found.
Yeah, well, I think something that people will miss more is, or at least maybe not miss, but just not.
Well, it requires so much intentionality, right? You can just slip up, and then all of a sudden you're watching somebody that you don't necessarily admire.
And it's just not, talk about as much in the sense about how it's not good to be following these people, that you don't want to be alike.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a big thing, but it's the same thing with like your friends. Like you're going to notice, you want to notice and be aware if your friend is doing something that you don't like, and even if it's a little thing. So I mean, the story you mentioned is basically I found this channel where I think she's Italian, and she did a video on like what I eat in a week, and that was the video I found, and I really liked it. Wow, this is so wholesome, because she was visiting her family in Italy, and like I was watching all of the recipes, and I was like, "Ooh, it looks so yummy!"
Right.
And I found it to be a very wholesome video. And so I started looking around at her other channel, and I was subscribed to her for a little bit, checking out her channel and looking at her stuff. In one of her videos, she did a video basically around the theme of like birthday, where it was her birthday and she went to a place and she was talking to the camera about her philosophy on birthday and her stories with, because I think that's something that a lot of people can have trouble with, including me, where it's like, once you get to a certain age, it becomes hard to like appreciate your birthday and make it feel special.
Right.
And then she was talking about one time where her boyfriend apparently took her to shoot guns and play baseball for her birthday. And then she got like really upset about it, where she was like, I am not the person who likes baseball and shooting, and like, look at me,
look at my clothing. I am not a shooting gun person.
I'm not a shooting gun person, and like, how could he do this? Like, and then that wasn't like, there are a lot of things I liked about that channel, but it wasn't but that was like kind of a red flag to me, because I'm like, I'm sure the boyfriend, he was making an effort. He knew she wanted to be appreciated on her birthday, so he took her to do some stuff, and like, and also like, be appreciative of that, and you
and also not like airing your dirty laundry online with people who have no idea who you are.
Like, because like when you have some kind of following, there's going to be a set number of followers who are just going to agree with whatever you say, and just be like, oh my god, she's so right, she's so smart, how could he do that, and then it's really easy to just stew in all that and feel like amazing. So anyway, that was a red flag, and it wasn't a huge deal, but it was something that stood out to me as like, I don't know if I want to follow this person.
Right, and I think that the reason why I wanted you to share that example is I think it shows how high of a bar you're setting in terms of the kinds of people that you... And like most people, their bar isn't like anywhere close to that, right? And I think that's
based
something...
on what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, because it's so hard to try to do something like that, because you have to be so intentional, you have to be so strict with yourself, and you really have to establish, what do I want out of the people that I want to engage with? And most people don't necessarily even do that intentionally with the actual people that they're engaging with in their lives, right? Is this person someone that's actually making me better, right? And then when it's so easy to have millions of people popping up in your feed,
and not only like, also how people will engage with their social media, like, because something that really stood out to me and surprised me was how much negative and unhelpful stuff was showing up in my feed, even with all of the stuff that, even with, I thought I was training it pretty well. Like, I thought I was like only watching the wholesome stuff that I really, really, really wanted to implement in my own life.
Right.
And still, it was showing me things that some things were just like so like I didn't even want to see it, like see the thumbnail, that I would just be like, no,
Right.
and other things were just not helpful. And I think having social media as a place, even if you're limiting the time, as a place where you just, be mindless.
Right. That's really dangerous.
That's really dangerous because you can just start following people in emanating examples that are harmful,
and without you realizing, just like you saying rubbish.
Like, I didn't know that was a bad thing to do. It wasn't even really registering in my mind until you pointed me out and laughed in my face.
It's not even a bad thing, right? But it's just an example of like the influence, right? Because it's just something where, I think that people can get
is very nice, by the way. She doesn't laugh in my face. She laughs with me.
Yeah, we laugh
laugh together
most of the time.
But I think that there is so much amazing stuff online. There's basically social media and the internet is a big pot where everyone dumps their stuff.
Right.
And there's some really good stuff in there.
Yeah.
But there's also some really awful stuff in there.
Yeah.
And there's some good stuff that just has some things that you don't necessarily want to implement. And
there's bad stuff that might look like good stuff on the surface.
Bad stuff that might look. There's all sorts of stuff. And I think when you dive into that pot, you gotta make sure you have your guards up.
In a world where you have so much, mental health problems and relationship problems, and people are so divided, I think we need to look at the root of what is actually influencing our behavior. And a lot of it is social media and the content that we see, right? And so I think to be very, very intentional, very, very careful about shaping that towards who you want to be.